What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another Friday night. It's live, it's interactive, it's the Play Collar Sports Talk Show. Y'all already know. So we got a special week this week, man. Somebody told me there's a big game going on this weekend.
I may have heard one or two things about that.
Yeah, just a little something about that. And the two guys here on the screen, we've been covering it all week long, man. We've been talking to the players, the coaches, and we got a great show for y'all tonight where we're going to give you in-depth analysis of what to expect on Sunday. But first of all, allow us to introduce ourselves. I'm one half of the dynamic duo of sports talk, one half of the world tag team champions. It's your boy Stephen Box, joined as always by my co-host.
That would be me, Cool McCain.
And together we are
The
Play
Caller.
So yes, sir. So cool, man. Look, I know we're going to talk a lot of NBA or a lot of NFL tonight with the Super Bowl. I know we're also going to talk a little bit on the NBA because we did have a trade deadline last night, so a couple of trades. I know we're going to talk about. We're going to probably push some of that conversation to next week, but we'll talk about at least a couple of the big ones tonight. But before we jump into that, man, like I want to hear your perspective of what was it like this week getting to participate in the Super Bowl media activities.
Man, it was actually a really good experience. I've done some media before, but I think the Super Bowl's a different environment, right? Got to talk to and sit in on conversations with a lot of players and coaches. I actually wasn't able to get a question in with Odell Beckham Jr., but I was able to sit in, hear what he had to say for a lot of his session. I was interested in that. It was a really good session. I just think you learn so much about these guys when you're able to talk to them and you have people that are asking questions, not only about football, but about their lives, family. Learned that Van Jefferson has a baby that's going to be born sometime around the Super Bowl, maybe a week or two after, but could come in any time. So
Yeah.
Odell Beckham as well. So very interested in being able to see the people and not just the player on the field, but the actual person, man. And that was the best part for me, uh, I would say. But just getting to talk to everybody, getting to hear people's outlooks, how they think about the game, how they see the game, um, their different positions, and how they're going to, play and what that equals to as the whole was really exciting, man.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. That's good example that I got a chance to sit in on Eric Yarber's press conference. I actually got to ask him a question as well, which I'll have a clip for later in the show. But one of the things that he talked about, somebody asked him about Odell and how he's fit in. And this is a guy who has a bit of a reputation, right? Everybody talks about he's a bad teammate, he's a prima donna, and all this other stuff. And Eric Yarber, who, for those of you who do not know, is the wide receivers coach for the Rams. He's like, man, Odell has been nothing but a professional since day one. The dude comes in, he works hard, he's a great teammate. There's no ego. He does everything that's asked of him. He doesn't complain if he doesn't get the ball. So basically, like everything you've been hearing about Odell is a lie. And I think that's really what's so cool about these opportunities is you really get to hear like from people behind the scenes what's really going on instead of all this rumors and nonsense and hyperbole that be going on. You actually get to hear from the people who actually are with these people every day, what's really good.
Yeah, man. And just one quick point to that. So listening to Odell, he said to several people, I made a lot of mistakes when I came to the league young.
Yeah.
I was not a wise individual, but I've cleaned it up and I've kind of changed it. I had a chance to listen to a portion of some of the sports talk shows today, and Shannon Sharp was saying how he's a mentor for Odell now. He reached out to Odell when Odell was a rookie and said, "Hey, man, you want to talk? Hit me up." Never hit him up when he was with the Giants, but then once he got to the Browns, been there a year or two, then they started talking, and he started kind of being a mentor for him, and that's when they felt like things started to change for Odell. And now he's a guy that's regarded as a leader. I did talk to Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson gushed about Odell the whole time, every time there was a question asked about him. So In LA, he's definitely been the model um, wide receiver, and he's been a mentor, for some of the young guys. I feel like a lot of that was in Cleveland too. There was just the issues with Baker Mayfield, whatever that was.
Yeah.
But I feel like, this is a good fresh start for him, and he's taking advantage of it to the fullest.
Yeah. And it's a perfect example of what we always talk about, where sometimes guys are somewhere where maybe it's a quarterback situation. Maybe it's what you're asking this person to do offensively that's kind of throwing them off. Sometimes we see these people that they're not performing at a high level, and there's an assumption, oh, they fell off. They're not what they used to be. And clearly Odell has not fallen off, as we've seen since he got over to LA. So, it's just kind of cool when you get to see some of that stuff. Very similar to your comments. I know Eli Apple, who I also got a chance to sit in on, was also talking about when he first got to the Giants, that Odell was actually the first person to reach out to him. So, just little stuff like that, man. Real quick, if anybody does have any questions, comments that y'all want to drop in the chat, just any questions about the teams, feel free to drop them in. If it's something that we've heard talked about throughout the week, we'll give you the insights that we've actually heard from other people. If not, then, we'll give you our opinion, because that's what we're here for, right? So
that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna dive into all that tonight. But before we do, man, let's go ahead and get this NBA stuff out the way. So let's talk about the obvious trade first, which is the one that involved James Harden and Ben Simmons, which, for those who do not know, those who have not read beyond the headlines, those were not the only two guys included in the trade. But I'm going to let my co-host go ahead and break down the trade for you.
Yeah, so Philadelphia Sixers got James Harden. Okay. So what was traded back was, of course, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and can't remember their backup center's name. The backup center for the Sixers, his name is just escaping me at the moment. But those were the three people, and then 2 first-round picks. The important thing in this trade is Brooklyn gave up nothing else.
Yeah.
Just James Harden. On the 76ers side, they got to keep Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey. Those were 2 pieces that they did not want to have to send in a trade. Yeah. So I guess in theory, they replaced those with draft picks. I think for Brooklyn, it gives them a different lineup. It makes them a much stronger team without Kevin Durant. I don't know about Ben Simmons. You have him under contract. You have to pay him. You traded for him, but you did get a lot of other things to go, along with him to satisfy, even if he's no better than what you saw from him this year and last year. Yeah. I think it could be a good trade for both parties. I said this last night as well. It's just a matter of how Ben Simmons performs. If he does what he does best, some rebounding, score around the basket, play defense, then that's a win, right? Seth Curry is going to do some of the shooting. Yeah. He's going to be able to take over that role as Joe Harris is out injured. So that'll be good as well. When you look at James Harden, if he's the Harden that they had in Brooklyn early on, where he's facilitating, he's getting everybody involved, he's making everybody better, this trade is great. If he reverts to Houston, James Harden, this could be a lot of trouble. So we'll have to see how it plays out for both teams. But on the surface, it looks like Philadelphia really got better for the sake of getting rid of Ben Simmons and that whole drama to bring in James Harden. Icing on the cake. What's up, Will?
Yeah. I'm glad you actually brought that up, man, because I've been hearing ever since this trade happened, this is a terrible idea. The Sixers are idiots. They're taking such a big chance. They're going all in. What if he doesn't even, opt back in for next year? All this other stuff. And I'm not saying that any of that. Yeah, and I'm not saying that any of that is not valid points, right? But the biggest thing I keep hearing is, he's not going to be a good fit. The thing is, as you pointed out earlier in the season, he played the facilitator role in Brooklyn. If we go back to 2020 in the bubble, that Houston team that was playing small ball, they asked James Harden to play that role. And guess what? He did it. He actually played the facilitator role. And he actually played a little bit of defense too. Not a lot, but a little bit. A lot by James Harden standards. So if you look at it from that standpoint, James Harden is a guy who has shown you in the past that he's willing to play this role, that he's willing to do what it needs to be done. So personally, I think this was a good move for Philly. If they get really close or if it works out well, I don't think they'll have an issue getting him to resign. But even if they don't, listen, you got him on a 1-year deal here to try to make something happen, and you got that Ben Simmons contract off your books. Philly won. End of discussion.
Yeah,
like,
and
you can say that both teams won, but Philly definitely won. They ain't do nothing bad.
Yeah, well, he did go ahead and opt in for next year as well, so he's going to be there at least next year as well.
Well, now there's different reports on that. I saw some that he did, but I've seen some that says he didn't opt in. So I'm not sure which one's accurate right now.
Yeah, I've seen about 90% of the reports, the ones from more credible sources that say he did opt in, which would make sense for Philadelphia because if you're going to make this trade, you have to know you have him for at least 2 years. A lot of people have said too, hey, is he going to do the same thing he always does and get rowdy and force a trade out of Philadelphia? We don't know the future.
Yeah, he might.
But, with the amount of money he was going to get paid next year, he was going to opt into that contract wherever he was at. That's why he was trying to get out of Brooklyn so he could get that big money year somewhere else.
Yeah. So what's the next trade you want to discuss?
So it's not a mega trade, but it's a really good trade for all the teams that were involved.
Huh?
So this was a 4-team trade. So Detroit Pistons received Marvin Bagley III from Sacramento. The Clippers received Rodney Hood and Semi Ojeleye from the Bucks. The Bucks received Serge Ibaka and a 22 second round pick, and then a 2024 second round pick as well. Sacramento received Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, and Trey Lyles. So essentially what you did for every team was you tried to tighten up the lineups and give you what everybody needed. Yeah. Detroit needed a young big to can grow with the rest of the team. And Bagley's been in the league for a couple of years, only played 1 year in college though. So, still has a lot of growing and a lot of good years in front of him.
Yeah.
The Clippers got Rodney Hood, who is a guy who can help them with their lack of their 2 top guys. And then Semi Ojeleye is a banger, a rebounder, another kind of tough enforcer type guy, young player though. Milwaukee got what they needed in Serge Ibaka, which is a guy that can play some of the 4 and the 5 with them because they really only had 3 people in the rotation. So bringing in another guy that has experience, playoff experience, championship pedigree, that's going to be good for them as well. And then Sacramento received Dante DiVincenzo, a shooter, because they made another trade, and let Halliburton go, Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles. So I think everyone improved. I think the Bucks were able to turn DiVincenzo into Serge Ibaka and 2 draft picks. That's got to be, a win for them. So I think everybody won in that trade, and it made all those teams better.
Yeah, I don't think anybody lost there. I think that's one of those. I mean, especially for 4 teams to be involved and for you to be able to say that all 4 teams actually benefited in some way, that's pretty rare.
Yeah. Definitely very rare. Definitely very rare.
Now, a couple of moves that have been made involving the Trailblazers. I know people kind of looked at and was trying to figure out what in the world they're doing. You traded CJ McCollum, a couple other people, Powell, a couple other people you traded away, and people are trying to figure out what they're doing. Clearly, they're doing a reset, right? They're trying to clear up cap space for something. They're hoping to make a big move. So I guess the real question I would ask you is, are they going to be attractive enough with the cap space and Dame Lillard to attract the free agents that they're hoping to attract? Or do they just need to go and finish blowing this thing up and just trade Lillard too?
No and yes. You don't have you have Nurkic and Lillard. That's it.
Yeah.
You have Anthony Simons, but he's a young guy. It's going to take time for him to develop. By the time he's ascending, you're going to be seeing Lillard kind of start descending. Lillard's been loyal to this franchise. This is the point where Lillard and his representatives need to go in the office, sit down and have a serious conversation with the Trailblazers. I'm not here for this rebuild. You're not going to bring in one guy that's going to turn this team around. There is not one guy out there in free agency who's going to help you turn this team around with everything that you remove from the team. So, my opinion, blow it up, get the draft picks, turn yourself into a new OKC, build through the draft.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, I think that they're hoping to be able to attract some free agents, but history has shown us nobody wants to go there. So I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to get anybody to come.
And that's why it's shocking that you're getting rid of quality pieces when you don't have a lot of people that are knocking on the door to come to Portland. Yeah. Oregon doesn't seem to be a place where a lot of people want to go, and play basketball.
Yeah.
Or anything besides college football, really.
Yeah. And that's only because they get to wear like 70,000 different uniforms.
Exactly. And Phil Knight's going to hook you up while you're there as well.
Right. So
now there's one other quick trade I wanted to just mention. Don't have to do a lot of talk about it, but it was perplexing. So that's why I kind of wanted to mention it. This was not a deadline trade, but it was a trade. And that was the Pacers got Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. In return, Sacramento received Domantas Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, and a 2023 second-round pick.
Right.
So the stars of the trade clearly are Tyrese Halliburton, Domantas Sabonis. But to also, if you're Indiana, get Buddy Hield, who is a great shooter. Remember him from college. He's had some good years in Sacramento. And then, of course, you throw in Tristan Thompson for the sake of giving Indiana back someone who can play some minutes in the post. But it's crazy because it's like you gave up Halliburton and Buddy Hield. So I've got to say that Indiana won this trade. The Kings, they got some pieces. You'll have to see how they perform, like Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, and then that second round pick, what they can make out of that before you can say how they did in the trade. But Indiana really made out well what they were able to get from based on what they had to give up.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue when I look at this trade is, Indiana obviously came out fantastic, all right? Like no complaints on their side. But if I'm the Kings, I'm looking at this. It didn't make you better, right? It didn't necessarily make you worse, but it definitely didn't make you any better. And you now have issues with the roster. Like there's fits that don't make sense now. It's like, unless there's additional moves that are coming after that, I just don't really understand what exactly you were trying to accomplish. So I don't know if maybe this was just trying to clear up some cap space or whatever. But again, much like Portland, Sacramento is not somewhere where people are beating down the door to come play as free agents.
Very true. Very true.
So we'll see, man. We're going to definitely be talking a lot more basketball next week after the Super Bowl is over and everything like that. So, stay tuned for that. And we'll have some definite conversations about the rest of these trades and kind of what, how things play out after a couple of weeks when we get a chance to kind of see what some of these revamped rosters look like.
Absolutely. Stay tuned.
Yep.
And don't forget the buyouts, because there'll be some buyouts and some things of that nature as well. So we'll probably have a lot more things to talk about next week, but just pay attention.
Absolutely. So, man, we got to go ahead and jump into the main event of the evening, because the Super Bowl is coming on Sunday.
Yes, it is. But before we jump into that, got a little quick message for you good people.
Got a quick message for them? What you want? You
Yes,
want to
sir.
hit them? You want to hit them on one of these?
Yes, sir.
right, we are back, and it is time to talk the Super Bowl. So I want to have a little bit of fun tonight, man. I want to go ahead and ask everybody in the comments, everybody's watching out there, to participate in the chat here a little bit. Let us know, what's your go-to food for the Super Bowl party? I'm just curious to see. I'm trying to get some menu ideas for Sunday, man. I'm trying to see what everybody doing.
So in other words, he's using y'all to get menu ideas. I'm not
Hey,
mad.
man, at least I'm honest about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I
I'm
ain't
not
trying
mad.
to hide it.
Yeah, I'm not mad.
So yeah, man. So we got a chance to talk, like we said earlier, with a lot of players and coaches this week. Which, by the way, a couple of the interviews are already posted up over on the YouTube page, playcollegesportstalk.com. We'll be getting the rest of those posted between tonight and tomorrow. So make sure you keep checking back. There's going to be probably about 15 or 20 total that's going to get posted. So make sure you go and check those out. They're all pretty short, each one. So here's my question that I want to ask you, man. We'll get to who we think is going to win later. But just having the opportunity to talk to these players, talk to these coaches, what stood out to you about each team?
So there's one thing that stood out to both teams for me, and that was the camaraderie and the brotherhood. That was one of the questions that I asked, or someone right around me asked. I didn't want to re-ask the same question, but that was a big thing for me to figure out if both teams really genuinely liked each other. Position groups. It seemed to be like I said, I talked to Van Jefferson with the Rams, and it was like I talked to every wide receiver, right? He gave me a real detailed answer. He was real clear and concise. I basically asked him about how did he feel he had developed from the beginning of last year to now.
Yeah.
He talked about how Odell helped him develop, how Robert Woods helped him develop, Deshaun Jackson, his brief time there, helped him develop, Cooper Kupp. So he gave a lot of love to everyone that's been in that receiver room since he's been there. He gave some love to Jared Goff from last year. It's real solid. I also noticed defensively, both teams were very concerned, DB backs coach, safeties, about the explosiveness of the other team's wide receiver group.
Yeah.
I think that's a wise decision for both of them, especially with CJ Uzuma being back, who I actually got to sit in the room. I didn't get to ask him a question. I was actually the next person, but a couple of people took some liberties and asked multiple questions, so they burnt up the time a little fast, but it happens.
Yeah.
But he was really excited to be there, man. He's a great guy. He's a real, just solid individual. And I was happy for him to be able, to be in the Super Bowl and him to be cleared to be able to play. So there's a lot of guys on both sides. I think Cincinnati's defensive line feels a little bit of disrespect, right? Because we talk about the Rams line all the time, how great the Rams are and how, dangerous they are. But we haven't talked about Cincinnati's line as much. There hasn't been a big focus of anyone. And I was able to sit in with one of their defensive linemen, and basically in short terms, he stated that, we do have a little bit of extra motivation because we're not getting a lot of love, a lot of notice or anything.
Yeah.
And then I'd say another thing for Cincinnati, run game. We know about Joe Mixon. He's not the only back there, but it seems like he's the only one that anybody's really talked about at all this week. Where you go over to the Rams, you got people talking about Henderson, you got people talking about Akers, you got people talking about Michelle. There's so much more focus on that. So I think there's a couple of groups within Cincinnati that kind of have the ability to manufacture a chip on their shoulder, which always helps you in a game. I think for the Rams, that defense feels like it's strong because it practices against that same group of wide receivers, every day. So it's kind of what I took away.
Yeah, I got that out of both defenses, where they kind of felt like, hey, the opposing wide receivers are definitely good, but so are our guys, and we get to see them every single day in practice. That was really a big point for both. Also, similar to one thing that you picked up on was both sides really talked a lot about culture. I think I heard it a little bit more out of the Cincinnati side. In terms of the organizational culture, but you definitely heard it on the Rams side too, in terms of guys not being selfish, guys not being greedy. Kind of going back to what we were saying earlier about, Odell and, him not, crying and complaining like people think he does about getting the ball, right? So that's something that really stood out to me. And we talk about, why are some organizations successful? Why are some teams consistently in the playoffs, consistently contending for Super Bowls? It's culture. It's having high character guys that come in. It's having guys who come in and play unselfish football. That's what allows teams to be successful. And that's why these two teams are sitting here. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not other teams out there that have great cultures and, playing selfish, who are not playing on Sunday, because there certainly are. Right. But you are not going to get to this point without those things. That's kind of one of my big takeaways from this week. If you don't have that in your culture, if you don't have that culture in your organization, you're not making it this far.
Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true.
As a matter of fact, man, kind of speaking about the culture aspect of things, and really, you mentioned like how a lot of the Cincinnati people maybe feel like they're not quite getting the respect they deserve. I actually did have a chance to talk to Coach Zach Taylor, the head coach for the Bengals. And I asked him outright, I'm like, everyone thinks that the Rams pretty much deserve to be here. They've got the superstars. They've made all the big trades and the free agent acquisitions and all this stuff. And everyone expected them to be here. Most people didn't really give Cincinnati that credit. They thought for sure it was going to be the Chiefs or the Bills. No one really talked about the Bengals getting here. And I asked him what his thoughts were on that. So I'm going to play that clip for everybody real quick.
No, we expected to be here. We've known what team we've had all along. We have never surprised ourselves. I can promise you that. And so we'll let everybody else paint the picture of what this game means to the outside world. But to us, we expected to be here. We've known we've had a great team. We've been playing some really good teams all year long. Win or lose, we've learned a lot from those games. We've always felt like we should have won the games as you walk off the field. I know that's not the reality, but certainly we've been battle tested here these last couple of weeks, and our guys know that we belong on this field and on Super Bowl Sunday, and I expect to see our guys best.
So you hear those comments there from Coach Zach Taylor, and I noticed he took a page out of my co-host's playbook there, saying, hey, even when we lose, we feel like we should win the game. So shout out for that real quick.
So see, that is actually a thing. Even head coaches in the NFL apply that. So that's actually a thing.
Fortunately, he did not throw his play caller under the bus like my co-host does. But, it's a little bit different when you're a fan versus, when it's the guy you employ. So,
It's funny how my co-host talks about being thrown under the bus. Like, that doesn't happen the other way often. But hey, that's what we do, man. I mean, it's what we do.
It is what we do, man. So what are your thoughts when you hear those comments?
I was actually in the room when he made those comments. I thought it was well spoken. I thought it made a lot of sense, and I thought it shows that Cincinnati's not a team. We as outsiders, including myself, we didn't believe that they had the moxie, the talent, and everything to get to this point. I sat in the room with one of their DBs, and he was talking about how they pretty much were all free agents that came in. Yeah. They all kind of gelled together. I was in the room, two of their rooms, and ironically, no one paints themselves as the leader in the DB backroom. It's always someone else. So if you're talking to one, it's another one. If you're talking to another one, it's a different one. Like, nobody feels like I'm the guy. They always feel like it's someone else. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty awesome. A lot of guys that didn't get a lot of fanfare coming out of college, guys that were, on other teams, that the other team just didn't want them anymore, but they got in this right situation and they blended together and they played well. So I thought that was really great. I thought that was something that you rarely see, honestly, the gelling that quick of a defensive back group. Right. Yeah. And it was exciting just to see them play. And as I got to watch them play more once they're in the playoffs, when you could see them, because you didn't really get to see them in the regular season in North Carolina. Yeah. But just a good group, man. It was just really, that team to me feels like from the top to bottom, like you said, everybody's all together. I'm not saying that the Rams don't have that from the locker room, but I didn't hear from McVay or any of the players I talked to the same just reverence or camaraderie for upper management, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's not there, but I'm saying I didn't hear it. When you were
Yeah.
talking to the Bengals, you could hear from everyone.
Yeah.
I actually talked to their punter.
Mhm.
He's been there a long time. And the question that I asked him was pretty much, I wanted him to talk to me about Joe Burrow from his perspective, culture, and Joe Burrow. And I don't know do you have that clip?
Yeah, I have it if you want me to go and play it.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and play that one so you guys can hear, what his response to me was.
All right, so this is Kevin Huber, the punter for the Bengals.
Yeah, as far as the culture goes, this is the best locker room I've ever been a part of. You've got a bunch of former leaders from wherever they came from. They were captains on their college teams or high school teams or, leadership roles in the community. So you really see that coming out, in the locker room and in the, on the field, where you really see the locker room taking care of itself. You really don't have any egos in this locker room, which has been a big change from what I've been used to. So because of that, you don't really have guys that get upset about something and kind of branch off and, almost become a negative energy. So that's kind of just a testament to Zach and the vision he had, and that he was able to create that over the last couple of years, and that the Browns, stayed patient with it. So I think they kind of felt it too, and they saw where he was going with it. Then as far as Joe goes, you could tell from day one that he had a little something different to him. That he wasn't a huge vocal leader. I wouldn't call him a big vocal leader. He's more of, he leads by example, and just the way he carries himself throughout the day, the way he prepares himself, the way he works out, the way he film studies, the way he practices and just talks to guys and holds people accountable if they're not doing the right thing, whether it's a wrong route or the O-line does something wrong. I just think the way he carries himself and the way that he attacks every day is the way that he's really grown to lead the locker room, because guys want to guys see how good he is, and guys want to do everything they can for him.
Yeah, I tell you, man, as I listened to that, what really stood out for me, especially kind of thinking about some of the other comments that I heard from other players and coaches for the Bengals, is nobody on this team is running around like hitting their chest saying, "Hey, I'm the guy, right?" Everyone is leading through actions. And I remember hearing Coach Taylor talk about how they were very intentional about some of the guys they brought into this locker room and getting those high character guys and making that a part of the requirement for people they brought in. And it's clear that that is the example that has been set, over there. Even going down to, when I got a chance to talk to Trey Flowers, I asked him, "Hey, what do you think is like the main thing that you noticed when you first walked in the building?" Because he came in like halfway through the season, and the first thing he actually mentioned was the fact that you actually see the owner every single day. In most organizations, you're not seeing the owner walk around the building every single day.
Yep.
So they really just had that familyness to them. You know what I'm saying? It's that culture, it's that quiet leadership, and I felt, and I think you felt it too, all through the week listening to them. It's that quiet swagger, man. They're not boastful about it, but you can tell that confidence is there.
Yeah, and the thing too is, and this is something that I would say for the Rams as well. No one that I talked to felt like they were bigger than their teammates, right? I didn't get to talk to Cup, but I got to sit in Cooper Cup a little bit of his session. I had a few minutes left, and I'd already talked to some people and wasn't going to get in anybody else's room. And one of the things that he mentioned was he's as good as he is because Odell's there, when Robert Woods was there, Van Jefferson ascending. So, everyone's giving credit to their teammates, right? And that's big. Tyler Boyd, those guys, they're same thing, right? There's no one that's saying like, I'm the guy, or I'm great, I make this happen. You have none of that. You have a lot of humble guys. And I think that's something that both of those teams intentionally did. And I think you can take the approach like Tampa Bay did last year, bringing a guy like AB, volatiles, had some problems in other situations, but has so much talent that you say, okay, I'll take the flyer. That's one way, and that could work. But we see where that got AB and that team this year. On the flip side, you can bring in guys that, even like if you look at Odell Beckham, right? Odell Beckham Jr. He's a guy, there were some problems, but the real thing that got him out of Cleveland was not him, it was his dad, right? It really wasn't anything he said. And the thing is, as a grown man, my dad is deceased now, so rest in peace, Pops. But if he had made a decision that he felt that somebody was treating me a certain way, there was nothing that I was going to be able to say to not get him to do what he was going to do or say whatever he's going to say. That's protecting your kid. It may not be the right way to do it, but I think you're doing it for the correct purpose, right? So that wasn't Odell. That was his dad. That was Odell Beckham Sr. But he got here. He acclimated to the culture. They talked about how he was always in the film room when they first got there, just reading, catching up. Cooper Kupp stayed after practice with him. Van Jefferson said this, and worked with Odell to help him get the routes, learn the playbook, and learn how to, like a lot of their routes, you notice they do a lot of crossing routes and routes where they run similar routes on the opposite sides of the field, but then want to break a different way. Talked about how they built that chemistry running routes after practice. So a lot went into Odell being able to come in and master the offense as quickly as he did. And you don't have a lot of teams where the superstar wide receiver is going to be the one to stay with you after practice, right? No. And put in an extra hour or so of work. You don't have a lot of teams where you have that. So that was impressive from that side. And I say that just to say it's both of these teams that have that. I didn't know as much about the Rams until I got a little bit deeper into their conferences. Yeah. But they both have that, and you need that to be here.
Yeah. I have another clip I'll play here in a second of Eric Yarber. And I'll just tell you, man, like, after you listen to this clip, Eric Yarber is the kind of guy that you would want coaching your wide receivers. I'm going to tell you, just get prepared for that. When you hear this interview, you're going to like, how can we get this dude to come coach our wide receivers? But one thing I will say is, as you listen to him talk, pay attention to the fact that he doesn't mention names. He's just talking about guys in general. And I think when you have guys like Cooper Kupp with the season he had, when you have a guy like Odell who has been considered as a star and a number one in this league and clearly is able to still play at a high level, when you have a Robert Woods who is injured right now, but has been a big part of the success of this team, and your coach doesn't even feel the need to like point out individual names and can just talk about you as a unit, that's really a unique thing when you have this kind of talent on a team. So I'm going to go and play that clip and let people hear it, but I just wanted to kind of point that out in advance of the clip.
Well, first and foremost, I feel like they don't care who gets the credit. They just want to win. They're selfish. They're not insecure. They're secure about their talents. They're secure about what they know. So all they want to do is just win, right? And they don't care how we win. If they catch 2 or 3 passes in a win, or they catch 10 passes or 11 passes in the win. They don't care if they have to block linebackers, safeties, or corners. They just trying to do what it takes to win, doing my job to the best of my ability so that we can get a win. And not just do it one time, but do it over and over and over. Give that all for 6 to 7 seconds. Come back to the huddle and do it again, giving them my all. If somebody cut the film on and look at them for the very first time, what will they say about their effort? And that's how they play the game.
So like I said, man, you hear that, you're like, man, can I get this dude to like please come coach my receivers? Like
that's what you want.
Yeah,
like literally, that's what you want. You want a guy that doesn't care if he's got 3,000-yard receivers or 500-yard receivers, or whoever. You come out here, you give a maximum effort every day. You show us, and who you are. So anybody that's watching says, man, these guys work. And there was never a question on that wide receiver group. Throw the tight ends as well in there as well. There was never a question on their ability to make plays, catching the ball, getting downfield, breaking tackles, and getting good yak. That was never a question. So clearly, this man is doing a quality job with them, and the fact that he views them as a group and not individuals, that does say a lot, to me as well.
Yeah, because usually, because I had a chance to ask the Bengals receiver coach, like pretty much the exact same question, and it's like, oh, this person, really does this well, this person does this well, this person does this well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just found it interesting that even with all these star players, he didn't feel the need to name individual names. He actually talked about them as if it were one person.
I think the difference with the Bengals, though, is you have two really young guys. Boyd's a little bit of a vet, but you got two really young guys. Chase is young. So Higgins is young. So you have guys that still have to learn some of the other pieces. So that may be why he kind of divvied it up more. But I'm a little interested in the fact that he was kind of giving a lot of detail into who does what, on there, when clearly this is information anybody can see. But hey, I'm not an NFL coach.
So real quick, man, we're gonna head into some of the specifics here about what we expect to see on Sunday and pick our winners here in the last part of the show. I do want to give a couple shout outs real quick. So number one to Sideline Sports, who presents our show. We're part of the Sideline Sports Network, and they have been doing a lot of big stuff, man. Some of the people that we've had on our show really hopped in, did their thing this week. So I'm not even gonna stay here and try to name everybody because I'd forget somebody and I don't want to offend anybody. But y'all know who you are. So just shout out to everybody. Make sure when you go to our channel, go down to the bottom, you can see the link to the Sideline Sports page as well. Check out some of the other shows also, because a lot of people are going to be giving their insights, and you're going to be able to hear even more insights, and you'll be able to see those videos, interviews that we did on there as well. So make sure you go check all that out. And also, just a reminder, this is your last week in terms of the football season anyways, to check out the Score No Score app. So make sure you get that downloaded and check that out.
Yep, they start you off with coins. You basically, it's great, something you can do while you're watching the game, the Super Bowl. And you just bid if you think the team that has the ball is going to score or not. If they score, you win points. If you think they are, if they don't score and you think they were going to score, then obviously you lose. It's really simple, but definitely it's something that I would recommend checking out, man. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, why not, man? Especially if you can start off for free, man.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
My favorite four letters. FREE. All right, man. So let's kind of dive into this, man. What are you expecting to see on Sunday?
I'm expecting to see Joe Burrow get hit. Not as much as people think, but in critical situations. I will say this. There's a reason why people talk about the Rams front. So let's not pretend that that's not one of the best fronts in the NFL. There's a reason why people are talking about them. They're going to get some pressure in there. Cincinnati has been progressively better throughout the playoffs at how much Burrow gets hit, but he's still getting hit more than you really want him to. He's shown so much resilience. I expect that to continue. The question for me with them is, are you going to be able to ensure that he doesn't get hit at the wrong time and it forces a bad throw, a fumble, a ball to be not have as much oomph if it needs to on, causing a pick or something of that nature? That's what you don't want if you're Burrow. I also think they're going to try to take away one of their receivers, probably Chase, by slapping Ramsey on him. So are Boyd and Higgins going to be able to do enough to help out, as well as CJ at the tight end position to help with that? And then obviously Joe Mixon, and are they going to be able to smash the run as well as throw the ball on the Rams front? So that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing from Cincinnati, if they're going to be able to do or not. And if they can limit how much Burrow gets hit, I don't know, maybe change some coverages, maybe try to keep the tight end in some to block in certain situations, some chip moves, different things. but you're going to have to try to protect Joe Burrow because what you don't want is him getting blasted too much by this line. That's what you do not want.
Yeah. Yeah. They gave up 9 sacks to the Titans. And then they only gave up 1 sack to the Chiefs. And one thing that, I've noticed in the couple of games I got to watch, but also something I heard talked about quite a bit this week is how this Bengals team at different position groups finds ways to step up. And, their offensive line, I got a chance to, talk with their center. And he's like, look, we know that we've, had bad games. We know that we've given up way too many hits. And we know that in looking at the film and looking at that most of that was just mistakes. Guys not reading something correctly, guys not being in the right place, guys not doing what they need to do. It wasn't just guys getting straight up beat. It was really more mental errors that they felt like they were making more so than just getting straight up beat by the other team. So from that standpoint, I think they are going to perform a little bit better than what people expect for them to, right? Because now you've got a full 2 weeks to really prepare for this game. So that obviously helps in terms of the mental preparation and getting ready for your opponent. But obviously, it's not every week that you get to go against Aaron Donald, right? So that I don't care how well you game plan, that's a tall task. So it's going to be interesting. And I agree. I do think the Rams are going to get some hits in this game. The question is, can that Bengals offensive line protect in those most crucial moments? I'm not so sure they're going to be able to run the ball. We both know how good my 49ers running attack is. And as I said on here last week, the Rams did a fantastic job of absolutely shutting down our running game. Now, to be fair, Joe Burrow is not Jimmy Garoppolo. If you sell out completely to stop the run like you did against us, Joe Burrow will make you pay. So just to be fair on that front, but their running game also isn't as good as ours. So I don't think the Rams have to completely sell out the way they did against us to necessarily slow the Bengals running game down. You're laughing about the fact that I'm throwing Jimmy under the bus there, man, a little bit.
There's a couple of things, man. And I know you were going to say their running game wasn't as good as yours.
I mean, it's just not. I mean, it's kind of what we do. I mean, it's not as good as yours either, if we're being honest. So it's not bad though. I mean, Joe Mixon had a decent year. He put up 1,200-1,300 yards. So it wasn't like he
was
year,
injured.
But,
yeah, and he missed a few games injured as well.
Yeah, I mean that's always man. So,
as long as it doesn't get injured in this one, man. We want him to get through this one.
Yeah. So that's I think obviously going to be a big one. I think both of these receiving units are going to be very hard to stop. So I would expect that you're going to see a lot of yardage. One really interesting matchup for me is going to be Joe Burrow versus Matthew Stafford. For very good reason, tend to think that Matthew Stafford is going to be more likely to make the big mistake in this game than Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow seems to be pretty cool and calm under pressure. He doesn't seem to make a lot of mistakes, although he could certainly make a mistake, especially trying to throw against a guy like Jalen Ramsey, who will bait you into thinking you got to throw you don't have, because Joe has a lot of confidence in his receivers. But Stafford's going to make a bad throw or two. I mean, look, we've talked about it privately. Last week, the 49ers should have had a pick that could have ended the game. Stafford threw it right to the safety. I mean, right to him. So Matthew Stafford's going to have those throws. Tyler, I already asked that earlier. You're supposed to be telling me in the chat what we're eating so that I can figure out my menu.
Definitely. And shout out to Tyler and Jahan Phillips on doing the Cage Ragers. Wasn't able to tune into that, wanted to, but wasn't able to tune in to check it out, but I'm telling y'all, pay attention to Tyler Ingram, Cage Raiders, John Phillips. It's quality, man. It's quality. Quality.
And Tyler was also one of the Sideline Sports people who was doing it big this week too, man. He had a couple of really nice questions and answer sessions. I heard him, man, too. So
Yes, sir. He's part of the Gauntlet as well.
the
So
gauntlet.
that I frequent as well. So like those guys.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, what are your thoughts on the quarterback battle?
So I've said all year that I think Matthew Stafford is going to be the reason that the Rams don't win a Super Bowl. Not going to change it now.
Why not?
Because there's no need to change it. I mean, when I look at the two quarterbacks, I say to myself,
why would you? I meant to say, my bad.
Yeah. So Joe Burrow, young, but a little brash, not arrogant, but confident, right? I don't see him as arrogant, but confident. Like the punter said, he's developed a lot. He's done a lot to focus, and he's just really, really tried to come back. He won the Comeback Player of the Year, and I want to shout him out for this. He won the Comeback Player of the Year award and left the award. So when asked why he left the award, he said because there's only one piece of hardware he's focused on right now. So big ups to him for understanding, like, it's great to have this stuff, but my ultimate goal is to get the Super Bowl win, because what I think that the Bengals understand, they had a magical year. They had things come together. They got the right matchups. You have this opportunity. There's been a long time since this team had this opportunity. The last time the Bengals were in this opportunity, Ickey Woods was a player on the team. So it's been a long time. So that they have this opportunity, they want to try to take advantage of it. It's similar to what my Eagles did, when we won the Super Bowl. You get there, you got the right mix, everything kind of lays out for you. You just got to go get it.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be at. That's where Cincinnati needs to be at, to try to win the game. Stafford's got to be mistake-free, I think. I think if he can be mistake-free, it's going to be hard to beat the Rams. But if he makes the mistake, which he's made a lot of them, but they've been able to, cover him up. I don't think this is the game where you want to do that.
Yeah. To Tyler's point, about it not being a blowout, Tyler, I think the big thing is it is going to come down to Stafford. And he's the kind of quarterback that either he can completely self-destruct and cause you to lose big, or he's the kind of guy who can put up some big plays and keep you in it, or even help you blow the other team out. You just never know what you're going to get with him. So that's really, to me, what's going to be interesting. I think the key for the Rams in this game is their ability to run the football.
I'm curious if they're going to be able to run the ball like you think they are. I think you don't have to completely sell out for the Rams either. But I think Cincinnati, one of the things you noticed about Cincinnati, they went up against Tennessee, right? Mm-hmm. And Tennessee runs the ball quite well with this big monster that was coming back with fresh legs. And it just didn't happen. Yeah, it just didn't happen. There's something about Cincinnati as a team. Like, you don't look at individual pieces really and be like, oh, yeah, that guy's a stopper, that guy's a stopper, that guy's a stopper. But I think this team is going to do a better job than most people anticipate in stopping the run, knowing that their best chance to win is to bait Stafford into throwing the ball as much as possible. And that's not a knock on Stafford, because Stafford is a much better receiver than a better quarterback than I would ever be. But just saying, from his career, what he's shown us, he's got a tendency to make the mistake. You make that mistake today, on Sunday, that could really change the game. And if you want to win and you're Cincinnati, you have to make the game of Stafford beating you. That's who you have to have beat you. You can't let him run for 150, 200 yards on you.
Yeah. I will say this, having played against both of these teams this year and really getting a chance to actually see both of them, the one thing that I picked up on is when we played Cincinnati, they were one of the few teams that did not seem to back down from San Francisco's physicality. They actually were willing to stand up and match us toe-to-toe on physicality. And I've pointed out numerous times that the Rams kind of struggle with that. Even with the game plan that they had, even with shutting down the run in the NFC Championship, even with all of that stuff, the 49ers still had a chance to go win that game at the end. And this is a Bengals team that is going to bring the same kind of intensity that the 49ers bring. So I'm going to be curious to see, did the Rams get over that? Or was it just a matter of like, hey, they finally got past us because of the familiarity factor? But are they going to bring that same? Because I mean, I give them credit in the NFC Championship game. They actually showed up and they played with some intensity. They actually kind of matched us a little bit more than I expected them to. But are they going to bring that again? Are they expecting that out of Cincinnati? They knew they were going to get it with us, so it was easier to bring. Do they anticipate walking into that? Are they going to bring the same intensity they brought to the NFC Championship game to the Super Bowl? Or are they going to go back to more like their finesse style that they have been doing?
Well, we will find that out on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and give my pick. You know, we're nearing the end of the show. I'm going to go ahead and give my pick, and I'm going to put it out there like this. The Simpsons said Cincinnati wins 34-31. Score, I don't know, but I'm going to trust the Simpsons, and I'm going to go Cincinnati because the Simpsons do a very good job of predicting a lot of things that happen. I don't know if the Illuminati runs it now or whatever, but they do a good job. So I'm going to pick Cincinnati, but all jokes aside, I think that combination of weapons, I think they have a better running game than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They're going to have the superior tight end play because they have their starter. The team does not. So Higbee will not be playing. So that's going to be a difference. I think that they're going to put the ball into the hands of Matthew Stafford, make him be the one to win the game. And I think he's going to make that one play that they need where they can get a turnover off for kind of how they did to Mahomes at the end of the game last week. That's kind of been their MO. Take away your running game. You're going to beat us. We're going to force you to make a mistake.
Yeah. We've kind of spent the entire show talking about the observations that we had this week, right? And my big observation was the Rams play unselfish football. They play team football. Okay. There's a confidence in the locker room that they know they have the talent. And from a talent standpoint, they are a more talented roster. Okay. They should win the game talent-wise. But this Cincinnati team, they get that quiet swagger.
Yeah.
This is a team, and I heard it multiple times this week, that they believe that no matter how the game is going, that somebody is going to step up and make a play when it needs to be made. And they trust each other. They believe in each other. And that's their culture. It's not just something they talk about. It's not just some, nice thing to say. They truly believe it. They don't just play together. They truly have like that family vibe to them. They're a tough, physical team. They have a quarterback who's cool under pressure. And they have the weapons to make this happen. I'm also picking the Bengals, man.
So there you have it. For the first time in forever, this guy and me are picking the same team for a lot of the same reasons.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great Super Bowl, man. This is going to be one of those Super Bowls. I don't care if it's 9-6. I think we're just going to see a lot of exciting plays being made. We're going to see two defenses play real sturdy and make some big plays. It's just going to be whoever's able to make more plays.
Yeah.
And, I do believe it's going to be Cincinnati. Now, on the flip side, if it happens to be the Rams, hey, I picked wrong, but I'm not 100% surprised. That is the other team in the Super Bowl. We're at the Super Bowl, y'all.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the season.
Yeah. There's literally a 50% chance to be right or wrong here. So,
Best two teams still playing. Could we really think we'd say that about the Bengals and the Rams? Crazy.
Yeah. All right, man. Before we wrap up, because we are ticking down to the final seconds here. Real quick, what are you putting on your Super Bowl menu? And who are you looking most forward to about the halftime show?
Everybody on the halftime show, burgers, hot dogs. I don't eat hot dogs, but hot dogs will be there. Cake, of course, fries, all the normal cookout type stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to the halftime show. I think it's going to be a really great show. I'm a little bit jealous. I wish we had a similar show when it was here in Atlanta because it could have been just as hot. Menu, I don't know, man. I'm just waiting to see what Tyler's gonna cook, man. All right, so Tyler put it on chicken wings, and Snoop is who he's looking forward to. Well, I don't want chicken wings, so I guess I'm gonna have to steal my co-host menu. I'm gonna have to go with some burgers. Maybe I'll order some pizza or something. I don't know, man. I'll figure it out and I'll let y'all know. So follow me on Twitter if you want to find out what I'm doing for the Super Bowl.
Let's go.
Be sure y'all come in next week. We're gonna be talking NBA, so y'all gonna see this field in the background flip over to a basketball court, and we're gonna get a little basketball heavy on y'all starting next week. But don't worry, we won't be through with football forever. The NFL draft's gonna be coming up here real soon. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and if you haven't already, follow us on Twitter at Real Play Callers. Until next week. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Box. He's cool. And we are
Play Callers.